Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C, the podcast where entrepreneurs, founders, and ambitious professionals come to learn from those who have walked the path, navigating challenges and achieving success. Whether it's thriving in business, pivoting, scaling for growth, fundraising, or finding work-life balance, dealing with loneliness, adversity, or overcoming personal struggles. Our guests share the insights and strategies that have empowered them to level up. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. My guest today is Devan Gonzalez, an entrepreneur who's reshaping the fitness industry. Devan is the founder of Strive 11 Fitness, a no-class time bootcamp model designed for real people with real schedules. And now he's scaling that vision across franchises as the CEO of Strive 11 International. In this episode, we dive deep into Devan's business journey from building a six-figure personal training business by the age of 20 to developing a scalable fitness franchise model, all while navigating leadership, operational challenges, and hiring pitfalls. He shares how adaptability fueled his early success, why process is everything when you're scaling, and the tough and expensive lessons he learned along the way. Hi, Devan. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I always love these kind of conversations, and I always feel like I've learned so much just from the guests that I've had on versus, having you on to teach other people. I'm the one who's really benefiting from this, so it's always good.
No, I feel you on that.
So let's get right into this conversation. You built your first six-figure fitness business by 20. What were some of the scrappy early decisions that really moved the needle for you back then?
I would say it was being adaptable, right? And what I mean by that was I was a personal trainer, and a lot of people say you can't make six figures being a personal trainer, or even in the textbooks it says it's, you're in the 1%, that do it.
Mm,
And I think it's because a lot of personal trainers or a lot of business people get so like sniper focused on one little thing, and this is the only thing I'll do. And you realize that, okay, you're too niche down, right? Like
mm,
the niche is good, but you're not adapting to the niche itself. Right. So for me, I would one be open to extending my hours a little bit, right? Have clients coming in earlier or later, but then it was the fact of, let's say a client, you know, would ask, hey, my dad wants to come train with you, but he has Parkinson's, right?
mm,
Do you have clients with that? And I was like, yeah, of course. And then I'd be like, let's schedule something for next week. And then I would go home and do a bunch of research and make sure that everything I knew and tailor a
mm.
program to them. But it was, not being, oh, I only do athletes or I only do this kind of person. Right. And so that was one of the big things that separated me versus a lot of personal trainers, in my first business.
So, I mean, you're 20, and I'm not saying that 20-year-olds are not smart, business savvy people, but you're 20, you're young, you don't have a lot of like business experience and things like that. What made you want to get into, having a business and growing it so quickly?
I mean, I was a personal trainer for a corporate gym in college and loved it. And I was telling myself like this is an amazing college job. And
Okay.
and that was what I had told myself, and I was like, I'll figure out what I want to do later. But ended up switching my major from kinesiology or from business to kinesiology and just started diving into it more and more. And then I kept getting in trouble with employers because I would get the same end result, but I would do it my way. Right. And
Mm,
everything that they told me to say, I said, right. But I didn't say it
right.
their script. And I was like, look, I'm not getting sales the way you're wanting me to say it. It sounds too robotic. It doesn't like there's no personality. Like I can't match it. Like I'm getting zero sales. Like if I just tweak it and I say it this way, I'm saying everything you said, not adding anything, but it works for me. And they would get mad
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't their way. And I would get in trouble, right? So it was like after a couple times of that, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna end up doing this on my own. Like I have to be able to do it my way. And I
Yeah.
realized that, some people can follow instructions, and I guess I'm not one of them.
Well, you launched what you call Strive 11, and
Mhm,
that's because you saw a gap in the market.
mhm,
How did you validate that there was a real demand for no class time model, which is what Strive 11 sort of comes from, right?
mhm. Yeah, so I mean that came from my first business of being a personal trainer. And I mean, I wasn't the most expensive, but I wasn't the cheapest trainer, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I would have my clients go to these boot camps and group trainings in between our sessions so that they would, continue to work out because a lot of people wouldn't want to follow homework if I wasn't there. And over the years, they were coming back with similar complaints. Class times didn't line up with their schedule. They got charged because an emergency happened and, whatever. And so I started realizing it's like, wow, there's different gyms, but the clients' complaints are all the same or
Mm.
similar. And so I was like, I wonder why no one's solving these problems. Right. And so for the next year, I started testing and trying to solve the problems. And that's what started to lead to Strive 11 was, okay, well, the class times is the huge thing, even with personal training. I was full with personal training clients. I had a list of clients that basically I sold on call. So it was like whoever canceled, I would text the list. Whoever could show up, showed up. But being able to come in at your own time, that's why people love big box gyms, right? You come in
Mm-hmm.
around your schedule. So I took that concept and blended it with the boot camp model, and now people can come in around their schedule and get the same exact experience that they would at a boot camp, but they don't have to worry about, okay, well, I can't make 5 a.m. 6:15 is pushing it. It's like, well, come in at 6:22, whatever you want. All right.
Right.
And then you can work out for 30 minutes, you can work out for 75 minutes. The workout is all tailored to you and your schedule.
Like, how many other people are catering to this very specific niche that you can think of?
I haven't found one yet. Like everyone, not everyone, a lot of people come in and they're like, I trained at a gym, similar to this. I'm like, oh, they had no class times? Like, no. Like, and I'm like, okay, so
Mm-hmm.
you trained
Yeah.
at a boot camp, right? And so we're the first boot camp that I've seen that is a no class time model. And believe me, it wasn't like all sunshine and rainbows coming out the gate. Like there was definitely that same principle I said in the beginning, being adaptable. The model, COVID hit and we basically launched it in the park for a year. And I was like, look, we have endless room here. If we can't make it work
Mm-hmm.
here, then it's not going to work inside a building. And then once we did come in a building, it was like, okay, there started getting like sections where people were getting, kind of clogged. It was like the flow wasn't flowing anymore. So how to change it on the fly. And now after a few renovations and a few, innovations of things, we are at the model that we're at.
Yeah. I don't know that much about like workout business or trainers but I'm gonna ask a couple questions just as
Mhm.
a maybe a consumer of it.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I get it that like they say, January is like the busiest time for gyms because it's after Christmas is when and it's when people want to go work out. But, you pay for a membership or sometimes you pay for all these classes and then you end up not going because you just don't want to, you're lazy and whatever, time. Yeah, just walk me through how does it work exactly?
So we do have both of those concepts intertwined. So we have
Mm-hmm.
some people that do want to purchase, day passes, right? Or even a bundle of day passes for a discount. And they can come in whenever they want and essentially use one of their day passes. But
Mm-hmm.
majority, I would say 99% of our memberships are basically unlimited, right? So they pay a monthly subscription and then essentially they can come in as many times as they want. They can come in twice a day if they really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
No one really does that, but they have the option if they wanted to. And then for our model, the workouts change every single day. Like the muscles that we're actually hitting, we have a calendar so you can see what muscles we're hitting. And so you can come in as much as you want. But not only do you get the workouts, you also get the nutritional guidance. We have an in-body composition, so you can stand on it, gives your body fat, muscle mass, water retention, all those kind of things. And then we have heart rate tracking, so everyone has their heart rates on the screen, and we can see what heart rate your zone you're in to make sure that you're maximizing your fat burning state.
You walk us through the turning point when you knew this wasn't just a gym. It could be a franchise because you did franchise. What
Mhm.
shifted in your strategy or mindset at that moment?
So the goal was always to franchise it, and that was even before I knew the model, right? And the reason was because I always like to be part of that 1%. And
Mm.
so how many trainers say they're going to open a gym, right? Pretty much every single one of them when they start personal training. Right.
Okay.
And I knew this when I was saying it to people when I was a personal trainer and I was getting like the pats on the head, yeah, okay, bud. And it was like I was one of many. And then you open the gym and now you're one of few. And so it was like, okay, this has to be different. There has to be a, differentiating factor that allows us to franchise. Otherwise, we're basically just competing on logos, brand, and so forth.
Hmm.
But my goal was to make it so that I can show people that are in my circle that look, you can be one of few, you can be one of those 1%. You just have to be willing to go through that battle and adapt as you go, because you don't know what you don't know. And every stage from being a solopreneur to a business owner to an actual entrepreneur, when you're going a little bit higher and starting to have a C-level position, because
Hmm.
a lot of people say they're the CEO and it's like they're the only employee. It's like who you're the CEO of. So
Yourself.
exactly, right. And so it's like those kind of things. My biggest thing was realizing, okay, everything I do from the beginning, can I do this times 100, meaning like 100 locations? If
Mm.
not, then I need to refine the program, refine like the systems and processes.
Yeah. And how many locations do you have now?
We have three. I just launched the franchise aspect of it last year.
Yeah.
Um, and then now we're at three. And then this year our goal is essentially to hit five.
Wow. That's pretty good. Um, what were the earliest operational challenges you faced when expanding from a single gym to the franchise model, and how did you solve them?
I would say the biggest challenges would be, I mean, it's tough. There's a handful.
There's a lot.
There's a handful, but they all kind of intertwine into the fact of not knowing what you don't know at that level,
Mm,
right? Because
yeah.
each level has its own devils, right? And so for me, it was, you could read a textbook, you can, get the theories of it, but once you're actually in the weeds of it, only certain things matter, and then certain things you didn't even know about show up. And
Hmm.
so the way I kind of solve some of that stuff of not knowing and trying to my biggest thing is condensing my timeline to success was I hired an advisor that actually launched his own franchise and grew to 400 locations.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
So my big thing was I could read a book, and I do read books. So it's like I could read the books that these other franchise advisors that have never started their own business are going to advise me with, or I can hire someone that has actually walked the walk, right? And that was my
Hmm.
biggest thing. So I would say if you're looking to get a coach or anything like that, like make sure that they've walked that path, right? And if they've
Yeah.
walked that path, that knowledge that they have is invaluable.
Yeah, I get that. Because I mean, like, if you're trying to, grow a marketing or a social media campaign, you're not going to hire somebody that has one follower, right?
Hmm.
You're going to hire somebody who has like 100 or 200, because then they know what they're doing, right?
Yep. And I actually get a bunch of those DMs. We can boost your, Instagram account. And I go to their page and they have 100 followers. I'm like, what do you
I've seen that. I'm like, what? How
do it
does
to
that
yours
work?
first? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you went from, starting this business, and, obviously you started it by yourself, but then you started hiring and leading at scale. So how did you approach building your leadership team as you transitioned into the CEO role?
That would be, I would say, one of those other big challenges that you learn, because being a personal trainer, I was a solopreneur, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you wear all the hats, and if something goes wrong, it's your fault.
Yeah.
And that doesn't change. This is where people kind of, in my opinion at least, get mixed up, is once you bring a team on, like, don't get me wrong, you'll probably be a little reactive in the beginning. They make a
Mm-hmm.
mistake, you overreact, instead of just coaching them and seeing why they did it a certain way. But realize that if they made a mistake, it's still your fault. It's not their fault, right?
Yeah.
And that's the dichotomy of leadership, is the fact that they're doing what you told them to do or train them to do. So maybe there was a misunderstanding. And so that's your responsibility to make sure that you train them and understand where that leak is so that it doesn't happen again. Because if you fire that person, the next person's going to come on and do the same exact thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But what happens when you need somebody with a specific scale? So, like, let's use an example, marketing.
Hmm.
And you don't know marketing. So you hire someone because they have that skill set. Is how you work with them, isn't it going to be a little bit different?
Yes and no. I mean, I've hired, I mean, perfect example of marketing is I've hired marketers in the past and I let them know, like, I've read marketing books. I understand the terminology. I'm not saying I'm a great marketer, but I
Yeah.
understand the basics, right? So when a marketer comes out and starts throwing out flashy words, A/B testing and split testing and, all these different things, I'm like, okay, I know what those are. Like, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's do it. And then I go into the Facebook ads that they're running or Google ads and none of that is happening. I'm like, what happened to the A/B testing and ABC? All of a sudden they're like, oh, well, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this ain't gonna work
Yeah.
out. So I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
my thing is whenever I hire someone, I'm hiring them to because they're better than me at it, right? But they're also supposed to be taking something off my plate.
Yeah.
As a business owner, you don't need to know everything, but you should know at least enough so
Yeah.
that you can make sure that you are hiring the right people,
Yeah.
right? And
For
sometimes
sure.
there's trial and error in it, so it's okay. But that's where, I mean, man, ChatGPT or even Google now with its
Yes.
AI thing is like, hey, what should this person know, and how can I check it, right? And
Yeah.
so that validation thing is huge. And you're gonna hire someone that isn't good, like a third party. It's okay. You make mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've lost thousands of dollars because I used one vendor and it wasn't the right vendor. Had to give all of the members a free heart rate belt to switch vendors because I wasn't going to charge
Yeah.
them because it was my mistake. And it was like that was a learning curve. That was like, okay, next time I'm gonna vet a vendor a little bit differently.
Yeah, I totally relate to what you're saying because I remember early when I started my career in tech, I didn't know what I didn't know, but one of the best things I did was I was curious enough to understand all the different roles and the basics. I don't know how to code, but I know how to put together a strategy for a product to build a product or building requirements and things like that. I know the basics of marketing and business analysis and QA, a little bit of
Mhm.
everything. And I find that like now that really helps me because I don't want to do those roles, but as a leader, I've come to terms, and I don't like this, but I've come to terms that it is my job to sort of oversee. I don't
Mhm.
manage, but I do need to oversee those roles and make sure that they're following the structure and the culture that we've built out. There's so much more that goes into it, right? And
Mhm.
so I like what you just said because I can totally relate. Just know the basics, know enough that you can work with your team and make sure that they're doing things properly. I love that.
And I think even to add to that too is because I mean, there's so much that goes on and that people don't tell you when you become an entrepreneur
Yeah.
that just like yourself, I know the basics on a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of things. But the easiest way I've allowed my team to grow, or even vendors, right, that I bring
Hmm.
on, is like, let's say something didn't go the way they said it would, because it happens, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, why didn't it, like, explain to me why didn't it go that way? And if they can explain it, it's like, okay, perfect. Now, how are we going to fix it to get the result that we were aiming for? Right. And
Mm.
so I'm not telling them what to do because, again, they're the experts in that field. So they say, I want them to give me the answers that they're going to do, and now they're giving a solution, so they're going to have more buy-in to that solution. And even that goes for my team in staff. It's like if they can have the buy-in to the actual solution, they're going to do a little bit extra and go that extra mile
Yeah.
to make sure that that solution actually works.
It's almost like you're also challenging them in a way.
Hmm. Exactly.
Um, so franchising brings a unique tension between consistency and customization. How do you maintain brand integrity while giving franchisees room to succeed locally?
So I mean, that's that's a tough one. I have a few other friends that are franchisors as well in different industries. And for me, the biggest way that has helped is being clear straight out the gate, right?
Mm.
Setting the expectation straight when the first meeting that we talked, this is what we do, this is how we do it. Um, but at the same time, letting them know that there are leeways in certain areas, right? Because
Mm,
and I tell them, I was like, look, this is your business. You're becoming a business owner, right?
yeah.
I'm not going to do your job, right? I'm not saying your location is mine, right? That's yours. But with that said, things need to be done a certain way for certain things. You have the flexibility on other things. For example,
Mm,
I will never tell them how to pay their employees, right?
okay.
But I will give you examples of how we pay ours at our corporate locations because I still plan on opening more corporate locations. These are different pay structures, bonus structures, commission structures that we've used in the past. This is what we're currently using. Feel free to use those. You can
Mm-hmm.
also use your own, right? Now, the reason that is that way is because one, I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money in that sense. And two, if I do, now I'm legally liable for how you
Right.
pay your employees and how many employees you can hire and so forth. Other things that are required is certain vendors, for example, you have to use. Like it is not a question. You can't go outside of it. It is these are the certain vendors like the heart rates, the shirts, the all the merchandise. Like we have vendors for that. But other things like, the energy drinks and, the waters and all that stuff, go for it. As long as
Yeah.
it fits the requirements, like you want to order paper, get it from your local store, by all means, do your thing.
Yeah. 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 How do you see yourself, or where do you see yourself when you've accomplished, 10 locations? Do you think you're going to have to change your style of how you manage and oversee things?
I mean, hopefully not by much, considering like as I continue to grow, I hire on merit and I also promote by merit, right? So
Mm,
I don't care if you've been with me for 5 years or 10 years, if the best person gets the job, right?
yeah.
So as I grow, I'm still trying to fill those roles and continue to delegate because my plate only gets bigger, and
Yeah.
so I'm trying to continuously delegate and it has been working. Um, but a lot of those things from like in my own location, I don't even run it. Like I have my two managers, they run it fully, and my team runs it. So I'm not even there too
Mm,
much, right? So that same thing would be applied to when I open my next corporate location. One of those managers will take that role on that
yeah.
location. Two other people will get promoted to assistant managers and so forth. So at scale, I'll just be adding more people to the franchise team. Um, but hopefully it's not like I don't have to be more hands-on because then it's more micromanaging than letting people succeed and grow within their own positions.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you sort of like put together a system that works at the scale that you're at, but it's also a system that you know will work as you scale up and get more locations and hire more people.
hmm I mean, and it's one of those things that's always adapting, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's always gonna change. Do you ever feel like because you have franchises and you're sort of like the head of this franchise, do you ever feel the pressure to like mentor people under you, and does that take away from the other stuff that you have to do?
Yes, but I think that I mean, I feel like that is kind of my job too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until I have a team that is the franchise coaches per se,
Yeah,
that is one of the hats I have to wear, right?
yeah,
But I don't deal with like their team. The only person I'm talking to is the franchisee.
yeah.
And then for my team too, it's like I don't necessarily mentor everyone on my team. I mentor the managers and then they mentor the teams. Right.
Ah,
So for me, my thing is once you become a CEO of a team, especially with a franchise and they have their own teams, it's like my main role is continuous innovation and growth. But the other thing is just problem solving. And that's not the micro problems that happen in a business every single day. That's what the systems and processes have been put in place for the managers to solve.
mm-hmm.
And then if those managers have a question or don't know how to do it, they bring it to me. So by the time the problem gets brought to me, it's a bigger problem.
Right. And it's a problem that really needs you to solve it versus just send it to you to solve it regardless of the size, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the learning things too, is like sometimes they'll bring a problem to me that I know that they could have solved. Maybe I haven't told them
Yeah.
how to solve it yet, but that's one of those growth things as a leader. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we haven't talked about this yet, but how would you solve this?
Yeah.
Right? And then you let them come up with the idea, and sometimes it's even better than the idea you would have had. And you're like, okay, cool, run it,
Yeah.
like go for it.
Yeah. I get what you're saying because sometimes like my team will come to me to like put out fires, and I'm like, man, if I wanted to be a firefighter, I would have just gone to school to do that. And so like it took me like a while to understand and be like, I'm not putting out fires anymore. You
Hmm.
guys put out the fires. And when it comes to me, it's something that absolutely needs my attention. But I think it's also like just, having your team realize that that's how you want it to work, that you're relying on them to make decisions as well. And people need to feel like they can make decisions that,
Hmm.
because founders sometimes are so stuck in their, this is my baby. And they sometimes, without even realizing it, create a culture of, you can't make a decision without me,
Hmm.
right? And that's why you're responsible for everything. But you've gone about it like very differently right from the get-go. And usually people learn that like later on, but I feel like you really like understood it early on. Is that because you brought on a mentor for yourself or a coach?
No, I think that one, I mean, the mentor didn't happen until we were starting a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And even that part, like when I was, working hand in hand with the mentor, because I was going to his office, daily. But even then, it was one of those things where my team would call me, and then I wouldn't even be busy. I'd be, out and about doing whatever, and I would be like, "Oh, sorry, I'm busy. Solve it. Give me a call later. Tell me what happened." Right, and I just
Yeah.
wouldn't answer it. So I would force them to do it, and I think that just started coming with not being like, okay, they can do it. I trust them. But it was like getting overwhelmed with all the small fires that I was like, if it's not going to burn the business down, they make a mistake, we'll figure it out, I'll solve it tomorrow. Right. And it was just almost like
Yeah.
getting fed up with too many fires that it kind of forced me to have them grow. And like you were saying earlier, they need to know that they can make decisions, but they need to know that you trust them to make the right decision.
Yeah. So every founder, every entrepreneur has what I call fuck ups. Things that, didn't go as planned and you either had to pivot or learn a lesson from it. Can you share a moment where you had one of those, and how did you solve it and what did you learn from it?
I mean, man, this is more than one. And that's the thing, is that people don't realize that as the founder, you, even though everyone looks to you for the answers, you're also the one that makes the most mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the big ones was recently, with our CRM, because we created an internal CRM, and I guess there was an update with the CRM and stuff, and I wasn't notified. And so we forgot to put a certain piece to the CRM, when people are doing online leads, and we got spam hacked. Um,
Oh.
and which I still don't understand why someone would do this, because it makes no sense. The only person that makes money is the CRM company itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, we were getting leads like, I'm talking about the milliseconds. Like
Oh, wow.
by the time I was able to turn it off, it had maybe been an hour, and we had like 7,000 or 8,000 leads. But all of those leads got essentially auto texted, called, the so forth. So then that was like an $8,000 bill that got hit, and there was no real disputing it. And so that was like, okay, well, we got to figure that out. And now we have to have a system in place so that anytime there's an update with the software, that we can know,
Yeah.
so we can adjust and so forth. So it was an expensive learning time, but
Yeah.
that's one of them.
That's a big one, if you
Yeah.
ask me. I've heard many, but that's right up there. Every time I ask that question, I always think it's funny how everyone's like, "Ooh, which one do I pick? There's so many."
Oh, definitely.
Well, we're coming up on time, but before we wrap up, for someone who's aspiring to, maybe they're just a one-on-one coach right now, or maybe they're aspiring to one day go into coaching, or they look up to you and what you're doing because it's so unique. Because most people in your space are, the one-on-one coaches, the gyms, and you've done something very unique. What is the one piece of advice that you would give someone that is aspiring to do what you did?
So the one piece of advice is, you're not special, right?
Okay.
And the reason I say that is, you're not special enough for it to not work out for you and it work out for other people. So
Mm,
if you want to do something, there's no one that can tell you it's not going to work except for you, right? And
wow.
that's just from your mindset. So there's going to be bumps, there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be learning curves. There's never a failure unless you give up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either you give up, either you get better, or you succeed, right? So there's only
Yeah.
three options. So just remember, you're not special. You can do it.
Wow. That's a little harsh and true, but like it makes sense, but it's a little harsh. And I think
Hmm.
that might be hard for people to accept sometimes. Yeah, I'm not special, but my mom says I'm special.
Yeah, and that's why I say it that way, right? Because it gets people
Yeah.
to listen, and it's like you're not special to be the outlier of anything being possible, right?
Yeah.
So you can be one of those 1%, right?
Yeah.
So
I
just
love
go and do
that.
it.
That's true. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Devin, for joining me today and sharing all of your knowledge and your journey. I'm always so appreciative that founders are willing to, be open and share their journey and their mistakes for others to learn. So I so appreciate your time today and thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor.
I want to thank Devin for joining me today and sharing the kind of raw, real founder insight we rarely hear. What stood out most was Devin's fierce commitment to adaptability, whether it was evolving his business model on the fly or handing problems back to his team to encourage growth and ownership. A key takeaway: you're not special is the best way possible. Devin reminded us that success is available to anyone willing to commit, course correct, and keep going. As a founder, your job isn't to put out every fire, it's to build the systems and the team that can. And that's a wrap. To our listeners, thank you for joining me on this journey of learning, growth, and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite platform and connect with our community on social media. I'd love to hear your feedback, so leave a review and let me know what topics you'd want to explore in future episodes. Remember, the future belongs to those who embrace challenges, adapt with tenacity, and keep pushing forward. Keep growing, keep pivoting, and most importantly, stay tenacious in your pursuits. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to bringing you more insightful conversations in our upcoming episodes. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.